When you open ChatGPT and search your product category and your competitors show up and you don't, this is not a coincidence. And it's not because they have a better product than you. It's just because of what people are saying about them in Reddit. These are probably in threads that you've probably never read, don't know exist. If you don't know me, my name is Michael Sack. I'm the founder of SEOasis. We're an AI era SEO agency built for e-commerce brands doing anywhere from 100K to 10 million a month. And we help them get first on Google and ChatGPT. In this video, I'm going to show you how to diagnose exactly why AI tools are recommending your competitors instead of you. So let's get into it. Before we run the diagnosis, you need to understand what is actually happening. So when someone asks ChatGPT what is the best rooftop 10 or what is the best protein powder for runners, those tools aren't just reading the product pages from websites that they're finding. They're also pulling from community discussions where real people are talking about the products and giving their actual opinions on them. So, and Reddit is just one of the biggest community discussion sources that they pull from. Reddit ranks really well on Google, and they have for years. And so AI tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity train on Reddit directly, but also find these threads when they do searches on behalf of users. So in two ways, Reddit threads feed directly into AI recommendations. So when a founder asks me why ChatGPT is recommending their competitor, the answer is almost always sitting in a Reddit thread that they don't even know exists. The community in that thread and in that subreddit made a decision, and the AI just reported it, essentially. All right, so getting into the diagnosis, step one is to run the AI prompt test. All you have to do is open ChatGPT and type in a prompt your customer would actually type, something like best product category for customer type. Keep it natural, keep it something that someone would actually search, and then look at what comes back and write down all the brands that get mentioned and write down the language the AI is using to describe them. So anytime you see phrases like trusted by the community or highly recommended on Reddit, if the AI is saying something like that, which happens pretty often, if you do it enough, you'll see the patterns. That's not random. It means they're being pulled directly from the thread sentiment, right? The thread sentiment is positive, and so that's bleeding through into the AI response. Run it 3 or 4 times, vary the prompt slightly. So you could do top product for use case. What product does audience actually recommend? Is competitor name worth it? And just start building a picture of which brands are showing up in the AI narrative in your niche right now. If your brand does not show up in any of those results, that is obviously a signal that you're not being talked about in the Reddit threads that these AIs are pulling from. And so obviously we want to fix that. Quick pause, by the way, if you're running an ecom brand doing anywhere from 100K to 10 million a month and you just ran those prompts and your brand is not showing up, that is the exact conversation I want to have with you. We do free AI SEO audits where we look at your current standing across the AI tools, trace the community content driving these recommendations in your niche, and then show you the gap between where you are and where your competitors are. We use the same process for Rootnest, and they went from invisible to generating 182K in organic revenue just over 4 months. Link is in the description. Book the audit, and then let's get back to the video. All right, and then step 2 is going to be trace those recommendations back to Reddit. Now that you know which brands AI is recommending, the next step is just finding out where that reputation actually came from. So go to Google and search kind of the same things, honestly, that you typed into ChatGPT, and you'll see threads coming up in the top 3 results, almost certainly. Click into those threads and just kind of read through them. Some have hundreds of comments. Some have been there for 3 or 4 years, but they're still ranking, which means they're still being read by humans. And more importantly, AIs are finding them and getting information from them. So anyway, open the threads up and then just read through them. Look for what brands are coming up most often, what specific language people are using when they recommend something. Do a quick Command F, see if your brand gets mentioned at all in the thread. And you'll notice that in most niches, 2 or 3 brands tend to own the thread sentiment completely. They'll be the brands that show up in the first few comments that have the most upvotes. People are saying things like, I've had mine for 3 years, it's still great, or I bought from them twice, no issues yet, right? That kind of language in a Reddit thread is going to be super powerful because it tells the AI that this brand has earned real community trust. And so if you're not in those threads, the AI does not see you as having that same trust or same community proof. And it really is that direct, honestly. The more coverage you can have across these threads, the better chance you'll have of being picked up by the AI. And then while you're reading this, step 3 is kind of to take note of the quality of the thread, because not all Reddit mentions are equal. And I think this is a point a lot of people miss. Brand mentioned once in a small thread from 7 years ago is very different from a brand showing up across 15 threads that all have tons of comments and were all posted in the last 18 months, right? So keep an eye on the thread quality, and then also keep an eye on the language being used. A comment that's like, yeah, I kind of like this brand, you should try too, is not as good as someone using words like, this brand is amazing, this brand is reliable, their customer service is super responsive, it's really high quality, and saying stuff like, this brand is totally worth it, right? These little like nuggets of language is what the AI really picks up on. So kind of vague language is not going to be it's not going to carry the same weight as really specific language like I was just talking about. And this is really where you start to see that gap clearly. You can see exactly what the community is saying about your competitors and exactly what it's not saying about you. And that gap tells you everything you need to know. So now that you have a good idea of the types of threads that are feeding into Reddit, step 4 would be it's worth it to do a quick audit of your own brand. So instead of searching those general things to see what Reddit threads are coming up, just type your brand name into the Google search bar and then use a Google search operator where you just do literally type site and put a colon there and then reddit.com with no spaces. And that'll pull up all the index Reddit threads that mention your brand name somewhere in it. And then just see what the community is actually saying about you. Sometimes there might be things you don't want to hear. Hopefully it's positive, but look at whether you're being mentioned at all. And then if you are, check for the tone. Are people asking questions that you've never answered? This is not just good for AI visibility. This is just good, customer research, right? So what are people asking about you that you haven't answered? What complaints are sitting there with no response from you guys? And each one of these things is a signal that, again, it's good, just general customer research, good signal for you to know what to write FAQs on your website and whatnot. But it also tells you exactly what the AI is seeing about you guys. When someone's asking like, is your brand worth it, right? It's going to find these Reddit threads. And if they're not good or they're not exactly positive, the AI sentiment is going to be pretty identical to what it's seeing in these threads. So you want to go through and answer a lot of those questions in Reddit, ideally with like a branded Reddit account that you've created for yourself. And any thread that you find where your competitor got mentioned instead of you, that's a pretty good data point for you. And then any negative Reddit threads sitting at the top of search results is definitely a problem you want to address. And you want to go into that thread and respond to it with a branded account so that the AI at least knows that you're trying. And then you can use some tactics to try and bury that negative thread, which is also just as effective. So then again, instead of going to Google, just go to ChatGPT and ask it directly, what are people saying about your brand on Reddit, and see what it pulls up. See how it describes you versus your competitors. See how the language mirrors these Reddit threads that you just found while searching on Google. And so the contrast is, it's usually pretty easy to see exactly how Reddit is influencing ChatGPT's answer about you. All right, so by this point, you should have a pretty solid picture of 3 things: where your competitors are winning in the AI recommendation game, what specific Reddit threads are driving those recommendations, and then where your brand currently stands in the same conversation. Hey, quick heads up. If you want to skip the manual version of this and get a complete picture of your AI visibility, your Reddit standing, and how exactly your competitors are pulling ahead, I put together a free guide called How Ecom Brands Get Recommended in AI in 2026. It walks through the whole framework we use for every brand we work with. Links in the description, so go grab it. Now that you have all this information, again, you now know why AI is recommending your competitor instead of you. And it's generally because the community data that feeds the AI favors your competitors. So the more mentions they have, the more coverage they have across all these different threads, the stronger the trust language, the more recent the activity, better the AI is going to favor them over you. The thing is, most founders just never do this. They never take the time to do this quick little audit. They just see the AI recommendation, feel frustrated by it, and then move on because they don't know how to trace it back to the source. They really have no idea what they're actually up against, but since you went through all this, you do now, so you're already way ahead of founders in your space. The fix, though, is a different conversation because fixing your AI visibility requires strategy and requires knowing which threads to prioritize, what kind of content shifts the community narrative, and how to build citation potential that compounds over time. And that's the work that we do with ecom brands at SEOasis. But the diagnosis is what you just did, and that's always the best place to start. You got to start there, right? So you now know exactly how to diagnose why AI tools are recommending your competitors instead of you. But again, here's the next problem. Even once you understand the gap, your collection page copy still has to rank on Google and get cited inside of ChatGPT. And most ecom brands are getting that part completely wrong. And that is why you need to watch this next video, where I break down the real reason AI written collection page copy keeps failing to rank for you on Google and the exact SERP research process we use to fix it.